Thank you everyone for coming. We're excited to have a full room. This is really exciting for us. We are kind of the rural team, or we've been part of the rural team of communityaction.com or community. I always say communityaction.com because I'm always telling people on the phone where to find us. But Community Action Inc. of Central Texas. So we are talking about rural areas, small towns. And so we are the area that surrounds Austin, Texas. We're the counties around Austin, but we are not Austin. And between the three of us, we have covered a very large territory of our 9-county territory that's part of Community Action for Adult Ed. So we are the most rural people. I'm far northwest and is in the south, and Glenda was in the east part of this. So we are kind of the far-flung sections of this program. And I have to point out, this is one of my favorite pictures. This is my little class in a little town called Bertram. And this was my 2 ladies that were pretty faithful in coming, and that was at the Bertram Library. So those are my ladies. And so we had a great time there. So we want to share with you, and we want this to be participatory. So we will have a poll everywhere show up, and we will have a Padlet show up. And so, yeah, you're going to need to get your phones out and communicate with us because we want to know what you know. You know, we don't get together very often. Rural people are far-flung, and they don't always, get a chance to see each other and to communicate with each other. So we just want that time for all of us to get together and tell a little bit about what we do and what works for us. And we have some ideas too, and we will just share those as we go. And I think we'll go on here. Okay, so we're going to introduce ourselves real quick.
So my name is Ann Gaines Rodriguez, and here are my bona fides. I was a big city girl for the first 30 years of my life, and now I live in Belmont, Texas, population 256, but my 4 children have moved away, so now population 252, right? But what makes me interesting, and this is going to relate in a minute, is that I live within an hour of the capital in Austin, and I live within an hour of San Antonio, Texas. So, right, metropolis, rural, or right, here we go. And where do I serve? I drive up the road, 40 minutes to an office in Lockhart, Texas, not rural. But I serve communities of Luling, Red Rock, Flatonia, Schulenburg, LaGrange, and Giddings, all rural. So takes me almost, my boss is here. If I speed, no, why would I be speeding? If I speed, I can be at my farthest site in an hour and 20 minutes. So yeah, right.
And I'm Glenda Rose, and I also worked for Community Action Inc. up until September. And then they got me back at College Station at Texas A&M for the state PD. But while I was at, by the way, if you're small town, you stay small town. So Bryan College Station has about 260,000 people. Too big for me. I moved 30 minutes south of that where it's like less than 3,000. Better. It could be a little smaller. I'd be happy. But I had, prior to leaving, I was the director, but I also, prior to that, was the coordinator for Bastrop, Fayette, and Lee counties. Bastrop used to be rural, and then Elon Musk moved in and moved everybody into our area because the housing in Austin went too high. But we used to have horses on Main Street. I'm not sure if they still allow it or not. So even though it was technically listed as urban with the census, as far as I'm concerned, if you have horses on Main Street, it's still rural. But that was me.
And again, I am Sarah Johnson, and I am in the northwest part of that territory. You can see those must be the county seats of all the counties there. So I have Burnett and Llano County. I'm also supposed to have Blanco County, but I've had, in the past 4 years, I think I've had 3 inquiries of people wanting classes. So I said, go online. So then we put them online. So I haven't had a lot in that area. And I'm from North Dakota, so that's very, very rural. Yes. And I also was in Minnesota for a while too. So I've been in Texas and working for Community Action for 6 years or so now. So rural is in our hearts. So we hope that we have joined the rural heart group here. Okay. You are the welcome.
So I think Sarah has already said that we are going to talk about challenges, but mostly we're going to talk about strategies. And so we'll be talking about challenges we've identified. Please feel free to chime in. You'll see that there's going to be a Padlet coming. Chime in about your challenges, but even more importantly, chime in as to how you get through them. Okay, here we go. Hello there. Sarah has a personal attachment to this donkey. This is
This is the donkey next to my sister's ranch, so that she took that picture for me. And we are I'm from the hill country of Texas, so that's the bluebonnets. It's bluebonnet season, but right now it's too dry and there's very few bluebonnets. But that's what we're known for. Okay, so try the QR code, see, and then we will pull up. Oh yeah, that's right. We need to escape and all of those fine things. So we're going to find out where you're from and what do you do? What is your role? Yeah, rural Oklahoma. All right. Mm-hmm.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa. That's where the tall corn grows.
Jamestown, yeah. Yeah, I was born in Jamestown. So. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Rural Michigan. I also am from the Mitten State. I lived in Flint. That's why I'm now rural, because I got tired of urban.
From all over, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. The rock that must present some alphabetizing challenges. Wow. Right.
Tucumcari. Cool.
Still upside down in the ground out there? Are the cars still upside down in the ground out there? She wants to know.
That's Amarillo.
That's Amarillo.
Yeah, we just went by there.
So we got, just guys, when you're talking, either talk really loud or let us know, because we're going to repeat everything you say so the people on Zoom can hear you.
Yep.
We only got one microphone, so we either have to share or be beyond teacher voice loud.
At O10, we have started a rural coaching project.
All right.
On that last year.
Cool.
It was really interesting. I don't know if Penny Pearson was still doing it. Is she still type? Okay. I think you were the one presenting. Okay. I don't know where I was, might have been Costas. Okay. All right, shall we go on to the next?
Yes, go on.
I'll keep on adding that. We'll go ahead to the next.
Yeah, we'll go back to that when we. So.
What does rural mean to you? What does rural mean to you? Woo, we didn't do the Padlet. Right. What does rural mean to you? Not city. Right. They do that to us over and over and over again. What is rural? Not urban. A long way from the grocery store. Thank you. Right? Right? Right. In Wisconsin, where the deer outnumber the people, right? Exactly. In where the mailmen drive Jeeps. Right, exactly. No public transportation. 10 minutes to get across town? Yes. What is this getting across town that you speak of, right? Right. One red light that just flashes, right? Exactly. And when the stop sign gets run over, someone comes and puts it up the next day, right? Going to town. We're going to town, right? Right. And also, you call your spouse before you go home because you don't want to do the 20 miles back, right? 20 miles, right? So, yes, ready.
Okay, it says, when Heather says it's a whole lifestyle, her county has no stoplights, only one four-way stop. And Lisa says, where the entire school district is in one building and there's no football team.
Football is everywhere, right? If you don't have a football team, you close the school and you bus them elsewhere. And sometimes, right. Buggies, right? Exactly. Earlier, we were talking about Mennonite farriers. We know what you're talking about, right? All right. So Merriam-Webster isn't, well, this is only somewhat useful, right? Of or relating to the country, people, or life, or agriculture is now when we want to teach them the cheer. We have culture, agriculture, right? All right. We have culture, agriculture. You gotta love it. All right. So officially, the Census Bureau, whoo, this time around, you have to have 2,000 housing units or a population of at least 5,000 to be urban. So if you are less, it used to be 2,500 in 2010, 2020, they decided it was going to be 5,000 people. 5,000 people or less makes you rural, right? Why does this matter? Partly this matters when you're applying for funding, right? When you're Googling and you're looking for grants, you want to make sure that if you apply for something that's going to support rural education, rural adult education, you want to have a matching definition. USDA does a little bit differently than this, and also state by state, sometimes there's different funding. You also want to be able to defend what you are doing. So I am lucky that my bosses have always understood this, but when I have a community that is supporting a class of 6 people, but other coordinators have classes that are 30 people, you know, why should my class get to stay open? Because that community only has 1,100 people. 1,100 people. So how many of them are adults? How many of them need ESL, et cetera, right? So, you know, it's the percentage game, not necessarily the number of people. Y'all have anything else? Anybody want to weigh in? Yes.
So I'm the OTAN person from Sacramento, and we've started this rural coaching project a couple of years ago. And it's been an interesting exercise because one of the things that I've soon learned was that our organization, training-wise, is very urban oriented. So for example, like one of the things that we've said in our trainings is that you need to have at least 10 people for OTAN to come to your location and do an in-service training. And so, yes, we figured out, it's been a learning process, that oftentimes you cannot get 10 people together, even if you get all the teachers from all the schools around, right? So it's good. I mean, it's becoming an eye-opening experience to understand that the needs of all these different parts of the state are very different. Even the rural areas have different concerns, right? So this is good. I think, I'll just say our organization has had this kind of urban bias for many, 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 many years. And so we want to be a lot more inclusive to adult educators all around California. So we need to take a different tack when it comes to different parts of the state. So.
Please see us. Please see us. We are here.
Okay, we'll move on. So assumptions that people may have that are not always so great about rural Americans. They might think everybody's poor, there's no diversity, they're uneducated, they're backward. And I don't really like those assumptions of people. And, I'm a proud rural person and I prefer it that way. And not everybody is poor and and I think actually our schools, most of the time, we have a pretty high graduation rate in the rural areas because you get more individual attention. You get, everybody know it's harder to fall through the cracks because they know who you are. And so, yeah, they know your mom, they know your family, they know you're related to a lot of people in there. So and even farmers, they say, well, they're just farming. Farmers go and get degrees in crop science and ag economics and marketing and all kinds of things and mechanics, and they run everything. They apply for government programs. I mean, they have to be pretty well versed in a lot of things, a lot of degrees in that. So people may think, and I think a lot of the stories and kind of your thought, you're coming from an urban angle, and a lot of our media and stuff is from urban talking about rural, and they don't really know what rural is like, I would guess. And maybe they think it's really complete, peaceful, idyllic, you're living out, communing with nature and all that, but they're hardworking people. Farmers work. This is, in the north right now, they're getting ready. They're going to, hopefully in April, they'll be able to start farming and things. And so it's very, very busy times. And also that, everybody's going to be a really close community. And that's true if you're the fifth generation that lives in that town. But if you move into that town, it's really hard to break in. So I'm a pastor's wife too. And so we have broken into small towns all over North Dakota, Texas, and trying to break into the little churches and all of that, the little towns. It's not so easy to do because right. It's kind of hard. It's hard to outlive a bad reputation, isn't it? Because people remember from way back, what your grandma did and stuff. So these are just little things. Does anybody else have other assumptions that we have?
Heather Online says, in rural areas, it's very difficult to change a long-standing mindset or get something new off the ground. There are so few people that they wear many hats in their community.
Yeah, and there are a lot of hats. That's another thing that they do. There's a lot of committees. My uncle was a farmer and he was the county commissioner, and they served on township boards, and they were on the school board and the volunteer firemen. And I mean, they do all of those things. And the parents, their towns are far spread apart. So if your kid is in basketball and you're driving 80 miles to go to a game, you drive 80 miles to go see your kid's game and come back the same night in cold weather. So, I mean, it is, it's a busy life too, and you have to go places. If you want to go to Walmart, you may have to travel for a while and things too. Any other assumptions we have? Okay, I think we're going on to strategies. Oh, was there a hand?
I was going to just say one assumption that I've seen, and it can be both a negative one and kind of an idealization one, is this idea of rural America as being isolated or self-sustaining entirely. And I think that that leads to a lot of misconceptions about just how interconnected a lot of our communities are to the metropolitan areas. I come from Colleton County, which is just outside of Charleston in South Carolina. It's predominantly rural. The actual county seat, Walterboro, where I work and live, is urban designated by the census. And a lot of people I've noticed from both sides, people in more populated and less populated areas, have this idea that what goes on in Walterboro stays in Walterboro, and what goes on in the city stays in the city. It has nothing to do with Walterboro. When, as I'm sure all of us can attest to, the people who live in our communities, they commute, they work in other places, they receive services in other places, and a lot of the things that we want to try and get off the ground are dependent on people understanding that our citizens, just as much as the ones more close to the city, rely on those metropolitan services. So we need that outreach where we are.
Farmers sell their products on a global market.
They do. It is. It's a global economy, and they have to know they have to know when to buy and sell. And I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes to all of that. All right, we're going to start with our challenges. Finding students, small pool of students.
So this is me. I told you about Flatonia, 1,100 people entirely. What? Oh, 1,300. The factory closed. Yeah. So sometimes that happens, right? Right. Okay. So sometimes the numbers are too small to draw from in order to make an entire class. Sometimes. So Community Action Inc. of Central Texas does have online classes when we get people's registrations. They get to say whether they want to do in person or online, but guess what? The online classes fill up fast, and then there's waiting lists. So sometimes that affects us. It makes class scheduling difficult, especially when people are they figure out they couldn't do a online class and then they want in person after all. Also, Sarah was talking about agriculture. You know, we've just been through daylight savings time, right? And all of a sudden the people who were in a ESL class from 6 to 8, they got to work. They're out there, you know, making money. So they're going to come in later, and also they're going to apologize when they're sweaty, and we're going to take them, and we'll have cold beverages. So, right. Also, in rural communities, schools may not assist in identifying potential students. You know, I serve 5 different school districts, 3 of which always tell me that they have complete graduation rates. Okay? One of them I believe, but I'm also not sure that they were absolutely serving everybody that they should have been. Yeah. And also, you know, the other thing that happens in rural school districts is they don't know everybody, right? Other people do move in. So, you know, they may have a child in a class and the parent needs the GED or to learn English or whatever. All right, so here we go. Yes. Thank you.
We had a student in one of our very small rural communities in Kansas want to drop out. And in fact, my instructor across the table from me was accused of stealing students from the school. And the principal then proceeded to call me and rake me over the coals that this student was not going to be a dropout. He was on track to graduate. And what was it? Maybe a week later or 2 weeks later, probation, you know, withdrew him from school. And I never heard another word for that principal, but he had no idea what was going on in his community. And I just took the tongue lashing, and I told Lance just to let it go, because they came to us, mom and kid came to us, and we had been talking with with the parole off or the not the parole officer, the probation officer, and he was truant. And so there was a whole backstory that this principal had no idea of what was going on. And I felt like I should get an apology. I don't think I'm ever going to get that, but you know, Lance should get an apology.
Okay,
We're about to interact anyway.
Zoom, can you hear us?
Zoomers.
Okay, so we're gonna try to stay, I'm gonna go find a battery for this microphone, but you guys talk real loud and stay close to this laptop, okay?
This is how we roll. Am I back in Zoom?
You're back.
Will you?
Yeah, so I think you can move on.
No. Yes.
No,
Yeah,
that
no,
is
my-
absolutely,
wait.
I'm still in Zoom.
we're looking at Anne Marie's screen.
There we go.
There you go.
Now we're
Good job, Anne Marie.
All right, here we go. Ready? Will you please weigh in on Padlet
go to Padlet.
your strategies for dealing with small pools of students? What do you do?
Did I pull it up?
Yeah.
I'll wait a minute. They're still taking.
Can you see the Padlet?
Does anybody need the code anymore? Yes.
Come on, guys.
People are having trouble scanning.
That's why I put the bit.ly. So rule number one, never just use a QR code because somebody is not gonna be able to scan it. You can also go to a web browser and put that bit.ly.
Rural. Right. bit.ly/rural coave. Rural coave. bit.ly/rural coave. Now it goes. Whew.
We might have to stop sharing on Zoom so Anne Marie can get back on there. Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on, guys. I think
You guys got
I
it?
think we
I'm gonna help Anne Marie. You guys did yours.
You're not sharing. Is this one being shared?
You're not sharing screen. Go back to Zoom and reshare. Hit screen and then
No.
Okay, you want to go back to us?
Yeah, I think I'll go back to us. We'll let them figure it out. I thought that we were. We're getting there, guys.
Where am I paddling? There you go.
Okay, that's her version, and we can look at that one or we can look at ours. Which one you want to look at?
We're looking on student recruitment.
No,
I know. I know. I'm getting there. Does everybody know how to use Padlet? You just hit this plus button down here and then you can write or type or ask for a picture. You can ask it to draw for you if you don't know how to draw. That's my favorite. I have it draw pictures for me all the time. Us too. Us too. People are jumping ahead. Thinking. Serve students when they can get there. Thank you. Social media, distance learning. Thank you, thank you. Oh. What? I am back in the sound space. Anything from Zoom? Yes.
So, okay, so back on the slide before we came to the Padlet. So one of the suggestions about recruitment is community partnerships. So I'm wondering if folks can talk about that, what that looks like, what that means. You know, in California, we have adult education organized a certain way where we, anyway, so, but I'm wondering what, in a practical way, like what does it mean? Like, is it literally walking up to your friends and talking about what's going on? I mean, what does that look like exactly? Or what are the ways that it looks like?
What if I mention some things that I do, and if you don't like them, you boo? All right. So, right. Community partnerships for me. Now we're actually talking about boots on the ground, right? Now we're actually talking about boots on the ground. So who are the people that I know? I know the librarians. I know the workforce board people. I know the Meals on Wheels people. We're a community action, but there's another a combined community action in Giddings, Texas. That's that utility assistance. That's what? No booing? Head Start, job fairs, the newspaper, the radio station, the Ministerial Alliance. What am I missing? What am I missing? Okay, one thing, I don't know about y'all, but one thing that I do is like when I'm at a school fair, a back to school night, not only, I used to ask people whether they needed their GED. I don't ask that anymore. Now what I ask is, do you know someone who needs their GED? Because everybody, there are some people with my last name. I'm a member of the bad Rodriguez family out of Gonzales, Texas. There are a lot of Rodriguezes that don't have their GED. So that's kind of formal community partnership. I'm just going to go on and say, so on a small scale, community partnership, current students, always ask them, do you want to bring a friend? Do you know someone else, right? power to the people. And also, it's great accountability. Maybe another person to give you the ride. Former students, you know what it's like when you help someone get their GED, they will love you forever, usually, and they will bring more people to you. So there's that. Also, a lot of people mentioned social media. We social media at Facebook levels, at county levels, in the next town over, the next county over, Facebook groups, that kind of stuff. But then we also still do flyers. And where do we hang up the flyers? At the laundromats, at the grocery stores, at the taco stands. You know, you get a rock, you put your flyer down, you put your rock on top of the flyer, right? Someone builds us QR codes. We put them up everywhere we can. We put them on little slips of paper. Tear sheets. We have Google Voice numbers. People can reach out to us. They think that they're texting us. They are texting us. They're just not texting our cell phones. So, community partnerships. Ooh, we're not going to have time to talk about that again. Parent night. Yes, right, exactly. We also go to, like right now, Head Starts are signing up. So that's a good night to go. April, May, you know, just because the children will come in September. Maybe you can get some parents now. Food banks. People who are struggling need better work. What is adulthood for? Better work. Ready? Uh-oh, this is you.
This is my big challenge. And actually, while you had, between us, I don't even know how many teachers we would have had. I mean, yeah, Glenda had 30 teachers. I have 7. You have, I don't know how many you have, but 18. And they're all part-time jobs, maybe one location, 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 nights a week. And so finding teachers and finding available teachers. Yeah, all my classes except for one's in the daytime, and I actually teach that one because I still like teaching. And so I do that one. But you know, finding teachers that actually know what you do and understand what you do and why you do it, knowing about your program, spreading the word. I went to one teacher fair before school started, and I was looking for a teacher in the jail. And so I put right on my board, I'm like, here's the jail. You got to be working, you got to be open to working in correctional facilities, and please apply. And so people took flyers, but it still took me 4 months to find somebody from that. And I had all kinds of teachers. Oh, I know somebody. And so it's hard. And in Texas, and I'm not sure if this is everywhere, but you know, the pay is not that, you know, like, gee, I really want to go driving at 9 o'clock at night coming home. You know, it's just, you know, the evening and the distance of where they are at. And so I have just found that it's, you know, we don't have people lining up to apply for our jobs and trying to find qualified teachers. And once they get in, I think they realize this is really cool. And, you know, I had one of my teachers, it's like, this is the rainbow at the end of my career, you know, kind of thing that she's finally found, you know, her spot and her thing. And so, but communicating that to people and finding the people who need to hear that is a challenge. I'll just say that. So finding people. I'll go on to strategies here, I think. So we're back on Padlet. If you want to have some of your strategies, I think my advertisement was right here. We are hiring. Yeah, I had that on my board. And see if you have some other ideas. Yeah, let's look at yours first. Yeah, we'll go back to. I think it's under here. Well, yeah, you guys are going.
Website posts, job posting, local paper. Hey, you know, we
Local-
still have newspapers in rural America. We do. Do y'all?
People still read those. I mean, the local ones.
They don't even have a digital option. Having teachers with knowledge in the area and of agriculture. I'm not sure. Please send help. Part-time, no benefits, but you must have a bachelor's degree.
That's true.
Special access, resumes, headhunters, emails and text messages, retired teachers. I like the retired teachers. Retired teachers comes up again. K-12 teachers interested in part-time evening classes. Yeah. Okay. Those are all really good. Yeah, I think you guys are just filling out the whole Padlet, which is great. You're ahead of us, but those are really good. Teacher recruitment was always hard for me. I not only had a large area space-wise, all of community action is about 7,500 square miles. So it's a big wide space, and I had about a third of that. So I had to have teachers everywhere. And we were talking about those dark roads. There was one place that was about 15 miles from the main office, which, by the way, some people who'd lived in the community 20 years would come in and say, I didn't know this place was here. Like, yeah, all right. But I didn't like to go there at night either, because the only road between us and them was 2-lane, undivided, 70 miles an hour, Texas crazy drivers at night. And it was just dangerous, and deer and wild hogs. It was just a scary road to drive. So we tried to find teachers that lived in those communities, because I didn't want people driving those roads at night if I could avoid it. So having to look at all of these Facebook posts and making sure I knew where all the retired teachers associations were, so I could try to tap into those, and then talking to the school districts. The one thing I didn't hear about partnerships, my favorite partnership was the parenting specialist or parenting liaison with the school. Yeah. They were my best friends. We tried to make them happy, because they would advocate for space, they would advocate for teachers, they would put out flyers in the kids' backpacks, they would let me stand in the receiving line when they came to pick up their kids to talk to them. They couldn't escape me because they had to wait for their kids. So, so those are good places to go to.
Yeah, Annie, and I think this is, and Anne's got.
I have one more little comment, and that is that I am always recruiting for subs, because if you can get someone who's a good sub, they'll probably be a good teacher.
Always looking for people. Always recruiting. Do you turnaround and part-time? I mean, I've hired 5 teachers out of 7 this year, 3 since Christmas. And so it's just trying to find people willing and have, the skills. Okay. So there we are. Going to community events, the school fair. The person that was next to me on this table, she was a retired teacher that managed a driving school. They gave driving lessons to kids. And so she became my teacher at the jail. And so that's because I was talking to her. And then I knew that her driving school was across the street from my library class. And so I went over there and just talked to her. And so I got that one. And another one, I was leaving the Y one day, and I liked the t-shirt on a lady. It was on I Like Banned Books, I think was her t-shirt. And I said, I like your t-shirt. And she says, oh, I'm an English teacher. And I'm like, ooh, do you like GED? And she's been my GED teacher for 2 years now. So you never know. You never know when you're going to find someone. And the library has been very helpful with us. And we do have a retired teacher association that covers my 3 counties. And so I'm trying to get on their, they have those speakers and things. I'm trying to get on their speaker thing, but I did talk to, I guess, the appropriate people of that, so they know that we exist. And so, but yeah, always look for people. Recruit. Okay, time.
So the teacher I recruited also had a t-shirt. at a restaurant because they work on weekends as the waiters and waitresses. And hers says, IA squared plus B squared equals C squared. And I might even pi equals R squared. What is it? Pi equals R squared? No, D, right? R equals pi squared. Thank you. But she says, but I draw the line at y equals mx plus b. And I just cracked up. And she's like, oh, math teacher? I'm like, no. But I teach GED. So I had to figure these formulas out at some point because I had to teach them to somebody else. But she ended up teaching for us.
All right, thank you. I think we'll move on.
We are going to be time challenged, so I am going to speed through this. Challenge number 3, locations and space. So Community Action Inc. of Central Texas does not pay for space. We pay no rent, so we need our space to be free. Preferably, we would like it convenient. Right? You know, I would like, thinking of space formats, I would like adult-sized chairs, maybe. I would like not everybody to be in a cubby, some stuff like that. I would love to have some sites that have storage. What do I do with when someone gives me something with PII? You know, I put it in a lock thing and I put it inside the secret compartment in my Subaru and I drive it on down the highway. You know, we tote all the books, we have the big sign. So those are my challenges. Y'all weigh in quick, okay? You got any ideas for what we can do about space recommendations? Where do you have your classes?
I didn't share this with you guys. I had a horror story. We did a HVAC class, and the program that was hosting us gave us this great space, which was basically the rodeo arena, for the 4-H arena. So it had no heat and no air conditioning. The problem is in Texas, that's not normally a problem, at least in my part of Texas. And this particular Texas February, it got down to 18 degrees. The teacher quit the second day of class. And then it took 6 months to finish that HVAC class. And then they were like, are you going to have another one? No, 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 we're not. But so sometimes it sounds like great free space. It was free. It was good space. They would let us bring our equipment in and do the training, but it just wasn't a very efficient way to handle that class. It took us twice as long to graduate them.
Here we go. Library, community center. And here is someone after my own heart, fast food lobby. The restaurants that are closed on Monday, right? Library and college. I do have a class at a college. Libraries, always very useful, except in Flatonia, Texas. The library is only open on Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 5. So this is also a technology problem, right? Churches, community meeting rooms at County Extension. Wow. Okay. The bank, you mean those little community rooms at the back of the bank? Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Community colleges, workforce centers. We got nice partnerships there too. Local employers. And not only are we thinking about local employers who might want to have a class for their employees, but also some will open for the public, right? So I myself, apartment complexes, what we think of as HUD, even though it has the word urban in it, yeah, they often have community spaces that can be used.
This is just our communities here in Texas, or if this is other rural communities. So 90% of the restaurants, if they're not changed, they're closed on Mondays. Oh, it's not just us. So they often will let us do their classes on, we'll at least do a full day class on a Monday because nobody else is using the building on Monday.
So I have a class in a school administration building. If you are a student at a school administration building, you have to do the background check. Not everybody passes a background check, so that makes us go to the library. In another small town, I'm at what used to be the segregated, the Rosenwald School. I'm at a Catholic church. I'm at a community college. I'm at the Combined Community Action, not to be confused with us. Community Action Inc. has classes at Combined Community. This is a nightmare. Thank you, Glenda. Yeah, right. So we needed space and it was free. It has bathrooms and it's air conditioned. So yes, right. All right. The next is technology challenges, which I think
We don't have technology challenges in rural. It's all good.
I skipped the student obstacles.
Well, you guys, we'll come back to this if we have time. We're running out of time, but we do want to talk about technology. So here are some challenges. You guys can just nod or shake your head. Do you have problems with your students actually having a device that will work? Okay. They have a device, but they have no internet. Okay. Or they have satellite internet that goes out when it gets cloudy. Yeah, that's fine. And then the other thing is the skill level. So we talked about rural America is not homogeneous. Not everybody's the same. So we have people who know how to use digital skills and people who do not, and they're in the same class. So that is always trying to figure out where we're going to start our digital lessons or digital literacy. That's another one. And then tech hesitant teachers. I mean students. Do y'all have tech hesitant teachers? Okay. And then their excuse is, well, we don't have any devices or internet. So what is the point of having the technology? Does this sound familiar? Okay. So I want to talk about some of the things that we've done to kind of get around that. I did during the pandemic. I tried to give out hot spots. You know what I found out? There was no cell signal. So there was no point giving them a device and a hotspot because they would still have to drive into town, you know. And in rural America, if you have to drive more than 10 minutes or if there is a river between you and wherever you're going, it is a long drive. It is right? Going into town, the first time I had somebody in one of my communities say, I have to go into town, I thought they were talking about going into Austin, which I can avoid. I don't mind avoiding Austin. Found out they were talking about going to downtown, which was literally a 2-mile walk. And they didn't want to drive it because it crossed the Colorado River. So it was like some sort of imaginary wall that you have to figure out. So some of the things that we figured out, and you guys chime in on any of their challenges you may have, but those are the big ones for me. Mm-hmm. If you're doing, I only get hand the microphone.
Sometimes when it comes to doing things that offsite, because you are borrowing all of these spaces, you can't do things like make a copy, or you have to have like, it's nice when you have a classroom set of books, but you're always dragging that said classroom set of books with you. And I never make copies because that would be totally illegal. So we never ever do that. So what do you do when it's not just about it's about resources in general and making sure that everyone has access to it, as opposed to just making, hey, you know what, we got one book, there's 3 of you, I'm going to need you guys to share this one book. So with copy machines, with just making sure that there's enough materials for everyone, having people to show up in the moment and you haven't prepared for it. Even for those of us who have to do testing off-site, a lot of that can go really crazy if you don't have enough of the assessments on your computer, and then it's not loading up to the big thing, and then the administrator can't pull the scores down. It gets really crazy.
Agree with all that. Anybody else agree with that? Yeah. We never make copies of anything because it's copyright infringement. That's a good myth. We'll go with that. So, so I just, these are things that we have to overcome. We have to think about it. You know, you have your rolling carts. I used to take just a suitcase. I just gave up on the rolling cart and packed a suitcase. And then when you also, but it does give us an opportunity to give students ownership of our classes because we can assign them, I am not getting that suitcase out of the car. So which of you men are going to be helping us unload? And which of you women are going to be doing this, that, and the other, or whoever's going to do it? But my point being, it's their class. We are coming in as the expert in X, expert in English, expert in the GED prep, but they are adults and this is their class. And so as much as that as I can have them help me solve, it's their community. They know the resources. They know where the copier is. Maybe their church should let us use their copier. You never know. So, you know, that's something, the best place I ever found for internet for students that were trying to connect to these online classes that we were talking about, but they couldn't from their houses because there's no cell signal. The firehouse, the volunteer firehouse let us have their training room. So students could come in and use the firehouse when they were trying to do that online class or doing their homework on the internet. So we kind of mapped out, one of the things I said here is map it out. Where is the internet? McDonald's typically has internet, and most towns have the Dairy Queen or McDonald's in Texas. Either one of them is going to have free internet. Not all of them have Starbucks. That's going to be Dallas, Houston, Austin. But most of them have, right? Only so, yeah. They have a McDonald's. No Starbucks. You may have to share resources. One of my big things, though, and I'm just going to put this out there. How many of y'all are teaching ESL or have ESL? Okay. There are some resources. I created one called DART. It is basically starting with, it's for very low level ESL, so alphabet level ESL, but it teaches digital literacy, but they don't actually have to get on a device to like lesson 8. It's all done on paper and pencil until we get to about lesson 8. So there's a lot of digital literacy that you can do without the devices. And then if they can use their phones, there's lots of activities and things that you can do on their phones. And one of the things that I suggest for GED students specifically is that they get a Bluetooth keyboard to go with their phones. Why? They can't type and the test is timed. So I need them to practice their typing for the RLA and the other. So if they get a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse that can connect to their phone, I'm teaching them how to connect Bluetooth to their phone, to their device. And then they can practice typing.com or typing sharks or whatever you want to use, right? So that's one of the things, and they're $5 at 5 and below. I don't know how much they are at any place else. They're $5 at 5 and below. This one is not. This is not a 5 and below keyboard. But the ones that I ask the students to buy are. You connect it by Bluetooth to your phone. Then you can go onto your phone's web browser and go to typing.com and practice your typing. You can go to your phone and practice your Aztec. You can go to your phone and practice your Essential Ed. You can use your phone and use the mouse and keyboard. Guys, I don't have my computer with me today because when I travel now, I just connect that to my phone and let my phone, I don't want to carry the 8-10 pound computer if I can just carry my phone and the keyboard. So they can do a lot of it if they just have a keyboard for their phone. Yeah. So she's talking about a lot of the grants that are coming out because of the broadband initiative. And there's places, a lot of the states already have those grants out where you can apply for them. So if you are rural, look for those grants or find out who in your area is applying for the grant for the county. Dollar General will help you. There's other places that will help you too. If you live in an area with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, a lot of times they'll provide you. Michael Dell will help in Austin. I don't know about any place else. Yeah, Dollar General, we said. So there's grants out there. If you go to GuideStar, you can look and see what people have given to, and you'll see if they're giving in your area. You can narrow it down by your area, see what family foundations are giving donations. The best one I ever got was from Family Foundations. The worst one I ever got was from the city of Austin because it had more paperwork than anything WIOA ever threw at me. But generally speaking, there is money out there that gets left on the table, so if we can find it and use it. I was not successful with a computer loan program. Has any of you been successful with that? Again, my problem was I'd give you the device, but then you go home and you can't connect to anything. Even if I give you the hotspot, you can't, you still have to drive to the Dairy Queen. You did? You were successful with it? You want to tell us about it?
All right. So I'm from Georgia, and Georgia is doing a lot with digital literacy, workplace development, correctional facilities. I serve 11 counties. 8 of them are rural, under 4,000 population. Our ESL and our ELL, they are all able to take laptops home. I'm working on just the smaller counties that we have right now that are working out of public libraries. My parents own a restaurant and my classes are there on Mondays and Wednesdays. And like I say, we got the back room and I usually get between 4 and 6 students on a good day. But that grant was through Georgia's digital literacy. Like I say, I don't know about other states. Like I just know about ours. But we got $5,000 just to buy laptops that we could loan out. And as long as we're proven use, we get that funding for the next 5 years, and then we can write for it again in 5 years. So
Okay, so go ahead.
I have a solution rather than a problem. This is for professional development for teachers or volunteers who want to do citizenship education, and they're in places all over the United States, the low incidence, so there isn't any professional development available to them. We are providing across the country monthly sessions on a platform called Echo. And it's for like peer sharing and professional development for citizenship education. And I'll leave a little card on the table here if anybody is interested in learning more about that.
Thank you. And then we're almost out of time, y'all. So I think having the Padlet, if we can all continue to share ideas there, we can go back and look after the conference to see if we can come up with any other things. I do recommend for digital, looking at the free resources. There's GCF Global, and there's North Star Digital Literacy. TCall on my website has DART on it, which you can download for free. So there's lots of things, but my strong suggestion is that it's integrated into what they're doing and not a separate digital literacy unless you're actually doing a digital literacy class. I do have one favor. Can you go to the last slide with the QR code? I forgot to bring the evaluations. Yeah. If you guys could go to this one, keep going. Well, maybe I did. Thank you. Does it have the QR code on there? I did. Look at that. I put the QR code. So there is either that or bit.ly/coabe05. If you guys could take this, it's a little 6-question survey so we know how we can improve this for next time. This is the first time that we have talked about this. We just felt like we have so many struggles ourselves with providing services in rural. We figured we were not alone. We just never get together with other rural folks. So thank you guys so much for coming and talking with us. Sincerely appreciate it, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your conference. All right, try the bit.ly then. Here, can I show you a trick? I don't know if it'll work, but I'll try it. bit.ly coabe05. HTTP. I said 05, right? Yes. Oh, they don't have Chrome. Oh, they don't have Chrome involved. They don't have Chrome. So the bit.ly one works, guys. If you want to use the bit.ly, it's fine. I'm sorry that the QR codes, my research assistant changed the codes on me last minute, so it may not have worked. I'll see if I can create a code real quick. Let me then check all the ones I have. Because all the codes are going to be wrong. I know. She sent it to me after I created them. And then to update them on bit.ly, we actually had to pay for it. Oh. Yeah. Bye, guys. Thank you so